Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Again, my name is Kristin, and I'm here today to talk about the Isle of Eight Flags Shrimp Festival. I hope that you were able to join us this past weekend. It was a huge success. I'm so pleased to actually have some of my fellow committee persons in the room with us today. It was a long and hard road, and as anybody that's ever been a part of Shrimp Festival or attended knows that it's a huge boon for our local community, and it means a great deal to us. Again, my name is Kristin Huben, and I do want to put some caveats around my presentation today that I've not lived here very long, and I know that there are a lot of people in this room today that have come to us from all over. I am not a part of a shrimping family, unlike the legacy shrimpers here in our community. I've not served on the committee for very long either. But I can guarantee you that I came to the Shrimp Festival Committee because I'm incredibly invested in our very special and unique community. I'm committed to preserving the history of what goes on here, what's gone on here, to the preservation of knowledge and to sharing it with our neighbors. And I do currently sit as the Riverfront Shrimpers and Heritage Committee Director on the Shrimp Festival Committee. It is a significantly sized committee, lots of individuals working on different parts to bring the whole show together, as it were. And I'm so pleased to be able to focus on not only the heritage of the Shrimp Festival, but the heritage of the shrimping industry, the activities that we produce down at the riverfront and in the water and at the marina, and to be in contact with the shrimpers themselves. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I've met some great people. And I hope that the presentation here today is exciting and interesting, and we'll definitely take questions at the end, which fingers crossed I can answer, or maybe I can lean on some of my fellow committee members to answer with us, or at the very least I'll be happy to take your information, find the answer for you, and be in touch. So how did it all start? How did we get here? I think that if you have lived in Fernandina at all, you know that the shrimping is a legacy in our community. The shrimp industry started here in the 1800s, in fact. And then with the advent of the railroads coming onto the island, bringing ice in, the shrimping industry really experienced a boon because now we could safely manage to catch the shrimp locally and send it all the way up the eastern seaboard, which was incredibly exciting. And the shrimping industry really exploded. Literally hundreds of boats in our area shrimping on a regular basis. And in our area, we catch white and brown shrimp. And that was really exciting and fantastic, and created truly a national market for shrimp, because in other parts of the Florida coastline and into the Gulf, that's where they catch pink shrimp or rock shrimp. But here we're catching white and brown shrimp. And so you can see not quite recognizable anymore, but these were boats right here in our own marina dating back to 1928. And you can see that very familiar silhouette of a shrimp boat. As the shrimping industry grew, naturally the shrimping community grew with it. These were the shrimp captains and their crews themselves, but also the incredibly important shrimping related industry that built up around that, including boat making, which was huge in this area, and net making. And as the shrimpers lived and worked alongside each other, they naturally would come together to be social together. So, it started maybe with a simple dinner together, or sharing maybe a drink on the marina after a long and successful time in the water shrimping, to not only include maybe just casual being together, but as folks are wont to do, but the comparison of shrimp boats, and whose shrimp boat might go the fastest, and who might want to put down a little money to see whose shrimp boat goes the fastest. And it really became a really organic experience, the shrimp boat races out in the waters. And these families are names that we know in our community today. The Burbanks, the Tringallis, the Dohertys, the Dionuses, the Caldwells, the Cooks. These are legacy names in our community, still attached to buildings, land, experiences, and businesses in our community today. As does anything ever, it always takes a few people to sort of congeal and bring things together. And while I'm sorry she couldn't be here with us today, our own living legend, Miss Dee Dee Bartels, recalls very fondly how things sort of started to come together with some semblance of structure. So as long as these guys were going to get together and race their shrimp boats, it behooved her with her friend, Miss Faith Britton, to maybe just alert the downtown merchants that, oh, and by the way, maybe this weekend or maybe this Wednesday, we're going to have some shrimp boat races, and to alert them that maybe they'd like to have their business stay open, or maybe they'd like to come down to the marina and participate, or maybe they'd even like to offer something special around the shrimp boat races. And she recalls very fondly that while she was maybe soliciting some downtown or marina-based businesses, that Mr. Billy Burbank Jr. and Mr. Melvin Doherty would take care to plot the course that the shrimpers would race down. And they'd race from north coming south, and maybe they would hang some colored or marked flags off one of the markers at the more southern tip of the intercoastal waterway, and the boats had to race down and grab the markers to indicate which prize that they might have won. It was certainly a fun but pay-to-play sort of experience where the shrimpers were putting their money where their mouth was and developing a kitty, and a shrimper might win $500 to win the shrimp boat race in those days, come right up from the shrimpers themselves. And of course, most important really than anything, bragging rights, of course. As the Shrimp Festival, again, really started to congeal as a functioning activity, a little bit of infrastructure comes into play. Mr. Ray Caldwell of the News Leader wrote an editorial in 1962 saying, I've been to Tampa, I've seen Gasparilla, and we have something pretty special right here. And why couldn't we have something that really looked and felt bigger that we could not only monetize as a business community, but share and publicize beyond our geography itself. And so Miss Rosa Adams, who was the supervisor of the Marina Welcome Center, which we'll see in a photo in a bit, but was the space-age glass arched building down at the waterside, she was invited to sit down with the shrimpers and on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and talk about how we might organize into something that had structure and direction and cooperation. As we were going to grow it, we now knew we needed some cooperation from various municipal resources. So to include just the notifications around potentially closing off the marina to automobile traffic, or to make a special notice in the newspaper and things like that. And they just needed, again, a little bureaucracy to help formalize the system as it came together. And again, activities were really building up momentum, and the crowds were naturally coming down. And there were other things going on in the community as well. And so in 1964, we really see the first official shrimp festival. And what it was is the cooperation of the city and other things going on in our area. The Fiesta of Eight Flags, which was the official opening of the beaches in early June. We took sort of the notion of all that and the activities involved in that. We brought it over to the marina side. We included now a blessing of the fleet with the priest from St. Michael's Church to come down, and this was the blessing of the shrimp boats and any other watercraft in the area. And we tied it all up, and it culminated in the shrimp boat races, and we had the Shrimp Boat Race Festival of Amelia Island. And I'd like to thank very much the Burbank family here. Again, these are some of these names in this photo here: Mr. Billy Burbank, Mr. Joe Tringali, Mr. Hilton Cook. Again, those legacy names that we know in our area and live on our buildings and everything. And here we have, again, some of those pivotal folks from that initial committee, which was really only about 8 people at the time that took to organizing this. Mr. Doherty, Mr. Burbank Jr., Miss Rosa Adams, and Mr. Ray Caldwell were really those names that we saw bring it into a conscription. And from there was a lot of just natural growth to the festival. We see it appearing recorded in the newspapers. Certainly the shrimpers are talking to each other as they shrimp the waterways from St. Augustine all the way up to South Carolina. They're spreading the news about here's what's going to happen, here's when it's going to happen. Come on down, my boat's faster than yours. If you don't believe me, come on down and we'll see it. And the crowds and here we have the Marina Welcome Station. Sure wish we had this today. What a beautiful, unique building down at the waterfront. And the crowds were really there, and we can see here we have the blessing of the fleet and people enjoying everything on the waterfront. And the shrimp boat races really continue to be the focal point of the Shrimp Boat Racing Festival. So this is races in 1968. And again, as everything grew, as we were adding, merchants and vendors, we're also bringing sophistication to the shrimp boat races themselves. The boats were categorized by length and size of motor, so that shrimp boats were competing in multiple heats at relative size and pace to other boats of similar size and pace. So you didn't have a little guy running up against a big guy, because that just wouldn't be fair. Sorry, there we go. And if you were going to race a boat, you might as well decorate the boat as well too. So you can see here the Dixie Queen in 1970. You can see off in the top left corner that she's got some, well, they're in black and white here, but trust me, they're colored flags coming up off of the shrimp boat, and in the background the boat as well. So they're decorating their boats to showcase them in the shrimp boat races. Come on. There we go. Continuing along with the blessing of the fleet. And again, the marina looks a little different here. This is 1971. It's not quite the marina we know today, but the shrimp boats were able to come right up along the marina itself and be blessed by the priest right on the waterfront. Today we do it a little bit differently. Our marina is shaped a little bit differently. Boating laws and regulations are a little bit different, but still the same going on. And again, the crowd's really coming together for this. And here you can see the boats coming from north to south in the race. You can see they're going pretty fast. You can see by the wake being kicked up behind some of these boats is not insignificant. And we'll talk about that a little later. But again, the Shrimp Boat Racing Festival was really growing naturally. As we had taken over from the Fiesta as well, it was an opportunity for arts and crafts to be involved. And in the 70s, for the first time, we saw the committee went to non-for-profit groups in the area and invited them to develop food booths for the festival, and to have those set up on the waterfront for folks, so that we weren't necessarily overrunning all the restaurants, but also providing for the extreme influx of guests in our area. And we still see that today. Today, still the food booths of the festival are run by local non-for-profit groups, and they raise a lot of money for themselves at the Shrimp Festival every year, selling things like gumbo and the likes. And, oh gosh, sorry. There we go. And the pirate culture has always been a part of the Shrimp Boat Racing Festival as well. We have some children here in 1973 with their little pirate hats on, looking at some arts and crafts down on a sidewalk sale. And so, again, parts that we love and have really appreciated about the Shrimp Festival have been really a part of the legacy of the Shrimp Boat Festival as it's grown and changed over the years. And it wasn't too long before it just made sense that someone would put some good music on to listen to as well. There'll come a time when we actually absorb a music festival into the Shrimp Festival itself. But it was casual artists setting up downtown. And then again, coordination in conjunction with the City Chamber, in conjunction with the Marina Welcome Center, helping to sort of put some timelines together and inviting people up. This band coming all the way from Gainesville, the 34th Street Laundromat String Band. Unfortunately, no audio recordings available, but we'll work on that for the next presentation. And then again, culminating really in the shrimp boats and their races and their decorating. This is a nice photo from the newsletter in 1994 that I just want to showcase again, those banners that were decorating the shrimp boats. So from the 60s in through the 70s, we really see it a snowball, positive snowball effect, right? More participants, more notoriety, more regard, visitors coming from all over the state. But in my research for putting together the history of the Shrimp Festival, there were a couple points that really stand out as pivotal and sort of showed some perfunctory changes and adjustments in the Shrimp Festival. And so the first of that is the 1976 to 1978 window. The first big thing that happened was the United States experienced a huge oil crisis in the late 70s, and the price of fuel skyrocketed. And the shrimpers came together at the end of the 1976 festival to say it is unsustainable for us to be able to provide the fuel to race these shrimp boats, which would take a significant amount of fuel, when they really needed to be saving every bit of fuel that they could to do the actual shrimping. The other thing that's sort of happening in the 1970s is, with the best of intentions, the global spread of trade, and we see imports into the United States shrimp and fisheries markets for the first time. And so there's a cut out at the shrimping industry itself. And so in addition to the cost of fuel, the ability to sell the shrimp is now put at a risk as well. And then the third thing was Fernandina Beach had grown quite a lot all the way up until 1976, 1977. And not only did our marina house still a fair number of shrimp boats and related fishery boats, but it also hosted a fair amount of pleasure craft. And as we saw in an earlier photo, the wake that these boats kicked up was not insignificant. And the leisure boaters and some of the other boaters that would be in the marina were really becoming alarmed at the amount of wake that these boats were kicking up, and creating a little bit of an issue for other boats in the marina at the time. So it sort of naturally happened that with that, the shrimp boat races folded, and the last shrimp boat races we saw were in 1976. Additionally as well, with the sunset of the shrimp boat races, the Shrimp Festival Committee made an official name change, and we went from the Shrimp Boat Racing Festival to officially become the Isle of Eight Flags Shrimp Festival. We're still going to celebrate the shrimpers, we're still going to celebrate the shrimp, we're still going to eat a lot of shrimp, and have all the associated activities, but now we're identifying it as the Shrimp Festival. And then we sort of absorbed this little folk music festival that was happening around town, and it was moving around the calendar a little bit, and it sort of found its home on a little stage built up down by the train station, and now we have the agenda of the Shrimp Festival codifying into the familiar pace of the Shrimp Festival that we know today, where it's really gone from a day and a half of casual activities culminating in a blessing of the fleet and shrimp boat races to really 2 full days, a full weekend of the non-for-profit groups running food booths. The arts and crafts show is growing, and now we've got a musical fest, and we've got a lineup covering 2 whole days. Some things about the Shrimp Festival, again, have been a part of the festival since the beginning. The parade was added not too long after the 1964 festival. The Pirates, as soon as they really came a group, they've been a part of the Shrimp Festival. The pageant we inherited from the Fiesta and became a part of the Shrimp Festival. Fireworks have been around since the 70s. And then, again, I say this with the utmost respect and as a local, inevitably looking in newspapers about anything about the Shrimp Festival that year is a lovely editorial from someone remarking that as a local, traffic and parking were terrible. It really goes hand in hand. But to live here, those are the prices that we pay. Some things didn't make it through the history books. They tried and were not sustainable as part of the lineup. A sailing regatta featuring sailing boats. They tried that for a little bit in the 70s and 80s, and that sort of had its time. Again, inherited from the Fiesta, quite exorbitantly produced local theater productions, including one that Miss Dee Dee Bartels put on herself when she was first working to congeal the Shrimp Festival into itself. Skydiving expositions, a classic car show, we've got one of those on its own weekend now. Hermit crab races, more about that later. A beautiful evening street dance down at the marina, and a beard contest, which is something that I think, without too much work, I think we could bring back. It was the best beard contest. Not sure on the qualifications for the winners about that, but we'll have to investigate and do some benchmarking against other beard contests to see how we might welcome that back. In the early 80s, we saw the codification of our Shrimp Festival logo. There's 2 logos I showed at the front. There's our committee logo, and that says Shrimp Festival in sort of a blue ombre green. And then there is the festival logo itself. And this was designed and the design is credited to Fred Olive of Jacksonville, who was a local wood carver and an exhibitor at the festival. And there were two gentlemen that took it upon themselves in 1981 to make some t-shirts at the festival. And it did so well that they offered the first official Shrimp Festival t-shirt in 1982 with this logo that Mr. Olive designed. And every year since, the Shrimp Festival t-shirt is the hot ticket item, which I was really surprised to learn when I first joined the committee. We go through a significant number of t-shirts. It's a hot button item. We do emblazon them with the year every year. So it'll say, again, the 60th annual Shrimp Festival. That gets added so you can track them in your closet. Available in all sizes and colors, including tie-dye nowadays. The shrimp boat races actually had a swan song. In 2005, Jacksonville hosted the Super Bowl. It was the 39th Super Bowl. It was New England versus Philadelphia. And again, not officially attached to the festival, but these are our shrimp boat races, so we'll take ownership of them. Thank you. In February, the official Super Bowl host committee, in conjunction with the Shrimp Producers Association, the Island Chamber of Commerce, the Shrimp Festival Committee, and a great deal of legwork by the shrimpers themselves, we put on shrimp boat races as a draw to the area. Fernandina was also home at the moment to some cruise ships to fill the need for hotel rooms to provide housing for all the guests that came to Jacksonville for the Super Bowl. So we had some large cruise ships for anywhere from $700 to $1,500 a night. You could stay on the boat and then travel all the way down Hector, all the way to the football field for the game itself. But so the Shrimp Producers Association got together. They gathered 35 boats, assigned everybody an AFC or an NFC team, and the shrimp boats coming, again, anywhere from St. Augustine to South Carolina, came and were decorated for those teams. And they put on a big show of decorating in the appropriate colors of the team they were assigned. They hung banners. They were provided some official designee information to hang on their boats, and they were all lined up at the marina. And then two boats, the Lady Amelia and the Tonyo, actually raced down the intercoastal waterway. And most curiously, and I just wonder if anybody was there, in no recorded instance that I can find in any publication do we know who won the shrimp boat race that we managed to bring back. But they did race, and it was a huge success. It was a huge gathering point. Everyone had a great time. There were lots of other activities supporting that, including hermit crab races. They gathered up just over 30 hermit crabs, painted each one for a professional NFL football team, set them down on a scale model of a football field, and every 30 minutes for $1, you could bet on which hermit crab might win the Hermit Crab Super Bowl. Don't know that we'll be able to bring hermit crab races back in to the Shrimp Festival, but who knows, anytime. And then there was a huge low country boil. No hermit crabs offered in the low country boil, but a huge low country boil was offered down at the marina. So the Shrimp Committee that year doing double duty in February because there was still the regular Shrimp Festival that May. And that's really the lion's share of the excitement and the change over the years. Today we offer the best decorated shrimp boat, which is better on our wake lines, and we invite, again, shrimpers from all over our waters to participate and join with us. This was just this year, in fact, this is the native sons from this year's Decorated Shrimp Boat Festival to celebrate in our waters. So we've talked about how we got here and what's next for us. And I certainly will not attempt to speak for the entirety of the community, the entire Shrimp Producers Association, or the city and the many people that have hands in this. But I think there are some really great opportunities within the Shrimp Festival itself to do a couple of things near and dear to the heart of our community. And the first of that would be working hard to engage directly with our shrimping community. Even in this morning's newspaper itself, there's an article about shrimp, the future of shrimping industry. Next week, there's a guest speaker here speaking about the future of the shrimping industry. There is as much shrimp out there today as there was when the first shrimper cast his net by hand off a little dinghy in these waters in the 1800s. It's there and it's ripe for the taking. It's a completely renewable resource. The aquaculture is there for us. The number one threat to the shrimp right now is pollution. And I think now more than ever, our community is absolutely engaged in the industry around us, and that we have a really fantastic and a swell of emotion around making sure that our island and our island's waters are clean, protected, well cared for, and that we encourage our residents to be stewards of this every day. We're very fortunate to have people come every day from all over the world to visit our island, and to make sure that we're communicating with businesses, resorts, hoteliers, guest houses, and even just folks welcoming their friends in town, that the stewardship of the health, safety, and cleanliness of our island and our island waters is key. And the Shrimp Festival is uniquely poised to provide sort of a culminating and an easily accessible time to address that within our community. Also to educate and engage. This is an industry that is going by the wayside, not because, again, there's any fewer shrimp out there, but it's a different time now, right? Students in school are not necessarily immediately leaving to become part of a multi-generational, very physically demanding and sometimes very expensive and wavering industry. There's no reason not to encourage students to go off and explore numerous degrees, but what are we doing? How are we helping to promote this industry that's still right here, that's available to people for whom maybe a job in tech is not of any interest, candidly, and for people who want to stay local to Fernandina for the rest of their lives. There's a lot of in a joking and respectful manner, right? Like you think of a young person, they're anxious to get that diploma, to go off to school, to go and see the world. But what are we doing to bring them back home, to live in our communities and to support the industries? Because there are still the partner industries, and those are quickly going by the waysides. Boat making doesn't happen here the way it did in the past. Net making doesn't happen here the way it did in the past. And those nets are still all done by hand. There has been no mechanization of shrimp boat nets at all in the history of shrimping. All shrimp nets are still made by hand in the United States for fresh local wild caught shrimp. I cannot speak to anything happening in Asia and their farming culture. I don't know how that comes together, and I don't care because I don't want to eat their shrimp. I want to eat our shrimp. But again, we're uniquely poised here to be in touch with the shrimpers. This time of year is on their calendars already. They know that it's coming. And then are we partnering for advocacy for fresh local wild caught shrimp at every chance that we get, at our local restaurants, at our grocery stores, of which we're about to lose 2 of here in no short order for a limited period of time. But are we insisting upon fresh local wild caught shrimp, and what does that mean? There is absolutely a price differential, and I respect that. Businesses are in the business that they are in to make money, but wouldn't it be something nice and special to say that a particular local venue that you know is offering this locavore to guests coming into our village? We took great pride this year at the Shrimp Festival to certainly encourage and provide every means possible that our shrimp booth food vendors were using local wild caught shrimp. And if you were here this year, hopefully you saw some bright orange flags designating those booths that took the time and the cost, which cut into their bottom line and their fundraising, to make sure that they were serving fresh local wild caught shrimp. And then taking feedback again from our vendors and attendees about what they're seeing out. We're very fortunate that some of the art and antique vendors that you see, they travel the nation doing this type of thing. So what other things are they seeing that are being successful to encourage participation at festivals, to help draw out crowds, to make it better, more fun, easily accessible, clean, and to make sure that we're always feeling that it's worthwhile and fun and friendly. And then, of course, I have to credit really the leadership of the Shrimp Festival community. They do benchmarking among other festivals. We're not the only shrimp festival. We're not the only festival on our island. And our Shrimp Festival Executive Committee has taken it upon themselves, their time away from their jobs and their homes and their families, to go out and see how other people are doing it, what they're providing, what type of resources they're using, how they're leveraging their city partners and services. So there's a load going on out there for sure. As I was assembling everything for this presentation today, it takes a village to do anything. I am eternally indebted to these folks for their time, their resources, the weird phone calls and text messages I send them, their firsthand accounts, and sometimes their scrapbooks to share with us all kinds of different information and fun facts out there about the Shrimp Festival, the history of the shrimping industry with which it goes hand in hand. So it behooves me to make sure that these folks definitely feel that they were a part of this conversation today, and that I couldn't have done it without them. I definitely want to leave some time for questions if you have any. I would add the caveat that I might not know the answer. I am absolutely not afraid to lean on my fellow committee members in the room to try and answer some of your questions. And I'm fully committed to, if we still can't answer it, to take your information and find it, because the one thing that happened was, and I'm so grateful to the museum, the minute they published that this event was going to happen, people came out of the woodwork to talk to me about their own Shrimp Festival memories and experiences. And so to gather that all up, to verify it, to put it together, some folks not in town necessarily this time of year, or haven't come back down yet for the summer, so that this presentation could be 4 times as long, I think, with 800 times more slides by this time next year, based on all the folks that I'm going to see this summer who reached out to me. So I'm so grateful. But yeah, can I answer any questions for anyone? Yes, sir.
The local shrimp net makers,
yes, sir,
used to reside here in an old building out by the North Boat Ramp until they had a fire. Are they the same people involved in the building you now see out on Route 17 in Muley?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. It's the same people. Burbank Nets.
Burbank.
They've actually transitioned, because of the shrimping industry is slowing down and everything, they've actually transitioned into making soccer nets, soccer goal nets, and other safety nets, sport nets. They're more of a sport net company, but they still do make shrimp nets and everything like that.
Yeah, at the time our men's newcomers club toured out there, I think it must have been Mr. Burbank that was in the back. He was really the only one making, literally sewing the nets for shrimp. But they had transitioned to Major League Baseball netting and stuff like that. But I didn't know what happened to them, so I saw this building out on Route 17.
Yeah, they used to do. They did it up until probably 5 years ago that they were down at the old Pogey plant. They did it. It was kind of you didn't even know it was there.
Right.
And Mr. Burbank is the one who'll be here next week to talk about shrimping.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
How many active boats, actually, shrimp boats, out of Bernardino do we have now?
That's a great question. So the first thing I would tell you is that we're actually in off season right now.
Yeah.
The Shrimp Producers Association of Florida embargoed themselves and have closed the waters in April and May. So right now, nobody. They're all shrimping in Georgia. But yes, during the shrimping season, there's about 8 boats. They're not necessarily coming into the marina because what we don't have anymore in Fernandina is processors, and that's the sort of the handshake between the shrimpers with the raw shrimp on their boats and then retail sales, essentially. So, for example, Captain Mike Adams, who was our Grand Marshal this year, and the Adams Shrimp Company, you can follow them on Facebook. When he goes out shrimping, he catches it in coordination with the rest of the company. They'll post on Facebook, and then you can go to them on his dock and purchase shrimp. And similar with the other shrimpers in the area, or they're making their way to Mayport for a processor into the seafood sales up in Mayport. But yeah, very limited, unfortunately, in this area anymore from the height of where we were.
Right.
Yeah.
I have one more.
Sure, yeah.
This is more of a business thing. The booth fees and everything, that the artist vendors and everything, does the city get a cut of that?
No.
No, not the
No.
city of Fernandina Beach, no. This is our chairman, Scott, by the way. Here's the big boss, and he can speak to the business of it, yeah.
And I'll take all the shots in the flag right now. And, but yeah, Scotty was the chairman of Shrimp Festival the last 2 years. And I'll be next year because I'm running unopposed. So somebody wants the job. This is the structure of the of the booths and everything else. Okay, so first off, let me back up that the city, the Shrimp Festival is in the city charter that says you will have a shrimp festival. Otherwise, the city would not want to have a shrimp festival, pretty much.
Right.
But because of that, we get to have the shrimp festival, and we get to have it on all those streets. That's why at Shrimp Festival, the committee controls all those streets, which usually means that the residents aren't, we try to accommodate the residents as best we can. But we have those streets. So we are in partnership with the city. I absolutely, I have to go before the city and ask permission to put shrimp boats down at the dock. Okay, because the city has a contract with Oasis Marina, and in that contract it says at any time the city can say we need 3 spots, and they're allowed to give them to us. But I have to go and ask the city to ask the marina if we can have those spots. So then it comes up at the city commissioners that it's costing the city $1,500 that weekend that they're not making that money. And it's only because they're not making that money. It's not because I'm forcing them to take that away. If I explain that right. The fees and the booths, last year it cost $400,000 to put on Shrimp Festival. Okay? That's the portalettes that you see, all those wonderful blue portalettes, those are $17,000 to use the portalettes. Okay? All the fencing that goes all around, all the insurance, the police got $33,000 last year for controlling the Shrimp Festival. Fire department got about $16,000 for having it. This is on top of what they already provide from the city, and then this is all the extra. Security was about $22,000 last year, just for the security guards walking around. So these are all these costs. The swinging medallions. The swinging medallions is $9,000. And there isn't a single swinging medallion left. It's the cousins, nephews, nieces, and brother-in-law that is the swinging medallion. But they come out, they sing the same songs, and everybody loves them. So that's the way it goes. So where do we get all this money? We had over $100,000 in sponsorship this year. So the rain gutter guy sitting on the corner taking up a prime spot, he paid to be at that spot. Okay. Baptist Medical Center gave us they're a sponsor. They're the head sponsor. So don't see, and I didn't even realize it until I was walking around picking up trash on Monday morning, that there is a outlet, there's an electrical outlet in the middle of the library parking lot. I didn't even know that existed, and then I went and looked at it, it's like, oh, because they take it apart, they flip it over, and you never know, and then the parking spot's back there again. You know, so there's things like that, water in different places, electrical outlets. We can call up the city and say, hey, what's the chances of helping us with this or that? And they usually can find a workaround and work with us. Huge cooperation this time with the city and lot C and D, the lot that's being revamped right now. That lot, we got permission, we always put our headquarters trailer there. Well, the contractor was being the contractor that contractors do, you know. But we were able to move the fence, we were able to adjust some things, and we were allowed, you know, because the girls' high school softball team made $12,000 parking cars last year in that lot. So then they cut that lot in half. So then what does that mean? $6,000. Well, their budget, their softball budget didn't get any less, you know. So how do we work with them and try to open that? So we moved some of that fence, and then Monday morning, me and another guy moved the fence back, you know, because that's just how we had to do it in order to make, you know, so the softball team could get their money. You know, things that I didn't know about, like the football teams, the baseball teams, things like that. The school pays for their program for eight games. Let's say football's 8 games, okay? If the football team goes to conference or state or does anything else, that's out of their pocket. That means transportation, hotel rooms, everything is out of their pocket. It doesn't just come, you know, the school just doesn't write a check and go, here you go, you know. So that's why they're parking cars at Central Park. That's why they're parking cars in the school lots and everywhere else. Anything that has to do with that is a nonprofit. All of our food booths are nonprofits. They have to be nonprofits. I could fill the whole place with food trucks, but it's not cost effective for a food truck to make any money because they have their prices, and then if they partner with a nonprofit, then the nonprofit's supposed to get at least half of their money, okay? And it's not cost effective for a food truck to do that, which is why you don't see them here, you know. But like people like, was it Yulee High School marching band? They got it down to a science. They've been doing it so many years now that they have their food booth, they have their personnel, and they make it happen. We had complaints that they didn't want to deal with Coca-Cola anymore. We had a contract with Coca-Cola where they would give us $3,000, you know, but then they wouldn't support the food vendors. They wouldn't get the product to the food vendors, so this year we eliminated Coca-Cola from the food vendors, and actually we went with a water company. The ice company was the water company. They distributed that water, and then all the sodas were at least $1 cheaper or $2 cheaper this year, because you got a can of soda instead of a big bottle of soda. So that's where the money rolls out, you know, and it's in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, I could go on.
Really?
Any other questions? And interestingly, we still have the beard contest. We've never gotten rid of the beard contest.
Oh.
It's a top.
How many full-time shrimpers have you, and where do they go when it's slow here and blah, blah, blah?
That would be Kristen.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry. Could you repeat the question?
How many full-time shrimpers have you? Where do they keep their boats? Is it year-round, or do they go to different areas at different times because you have different runs of shrimp?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in Fernandina and Yulee, we have about 8 shrimpers in the area. You may or may not see them parked at the marina, but sometimes they're parked privately because they might live on the water, or they've got their boat parked sort of elsewhere. They could, yes, ma'am, docked. Thank you. They could be docked down in Jacksonville, in Mayport, or in Georgia. It kind of depends on where they are, where they're going, and what they're doing, and then what they're doing with their shrimp. So what we don't have, and I was saying earlier, what we don't have here is we don't have a processor. There's nowhere for them to offload the shrimp in Fernandina Beach anymore. So typically they're probably going up to Georgia to offload their shrimp, and so you might catch the boat sort of in transit in the waterways, but you wouldn't necessarily see it docked again for any length of time in our own marina. But they're around, and I would tell you it's a tight-knit community. They're very hard to get a hold of, but I think in this next year I'll be investing in a marine radio, because that's how they all talk to each other and get a hold of each other. It's not even email and cell phones. They're still talking to each other just on their marine radios when they're out and about.
So who do they bring their shrimp into?
Yep, so there's processors in Georgia. That's the closest and the biggest. Is there's a processor up in Georgia, and that's where they would offload their catches, and they would sell direct to the processor, and then the processor is taking the shrimp and creating the retail environment. And they might be heading the shrimp, they might be parboiling the shrimp, they might be deveining the shrimp. Any way that you would like to purchase your shrimp, the processor is going to take care of that for you. Yeah, of course. Yes, sir.
Those two boats you see down on Pet Share near the power plant, they're always there. Larger boats.
Yep.
Are those some Fernandina boats, or where?
Not necessarily. Those boats in particular. Those are Jacksonville boats. I know the ones that you're talking about. Yep. The two big ones that you usually see parked right there during the day. Again, because there's not great shrimping during the day. The shrimping happens. The shrimp bury themselves under mud during the day, so that's when the shrimpers are sleeping or resetting. But those are in particular. Those are Jacksonville boats. They have come up before if they're available. Again, all the shrimpers talk to each other on marine radio systems. They're always invited up. But again, kind of depends on what they have going on and what else they have, sort of slated today, if they're available, if it's cost efficient for them.
This is more for the gentleman in the back.
Yeah.
What you do, is that totally volunteer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, all the whole committee, which between directors and then other volunteers, we got about 70 people, and it's all volunteer.
Okay, I just want to say thank you.
Would you like to be on the Shrimp Festival
I'm really
committee?
good at non-paying jobs.
Lynn?
When did the parade start?
The parade, it was partially inherited from the Fiesta. The Fiesta had a little bit of a parade. And then, as best as I can tell, it really had taken off and was well established as a Thursday night event by about the mid-'80s, and continued to grow from that point into kind of its own thing. The parade is not unlike the beer tent or the food booth vendors. The parade has its own director who's just in charge of managing the parade, because that is no small undertaking. Yes, ma'am.
You have a bunch of videos that you collected.
Yes.
Where will they be posted so that if people wanted to see, like for instance, the one that WG was in? Stuff
Yeah. So this year at the Heritage Tent, we showed a reel of about 7 videos that are available about the shrimping industry. They're very broad. It covers everything from literally the beginning of the North American shrimping industry all the way down to very niche right here in Fernandina Beach. And I'm going to be working with our publicity director to assemble that as a playlist and make that available through our website so that you can watch them. In the interim, if you go on YouTube and you search Shrimping Fernandina Beach, you're looking for about the first 18 videos for the ones that we showcased this year. And if you wanted to share your contact information, I'd be happy to send you those video links individually. But yeah, and those videos are available for free on the internet. They've been published by Florida Frontiers, the Florida Historical Society, one by Amelia Island TV, who's done a lot of great local work here. And then again, just some casual shrimpers themselves have made some videos and have put them available. Everything from how a shrimp boat works to what they call the pink gold rush, which is when they started to shrimp from the Keys around to Tampa, which is where the pink shrimps come from.
Do we actually have a shrimping, a film of a shrimping trip?
Yes, there's actually 2 available, and again, if I could take your email, I could send you the links directly so you could watch them. There's one where a gentleman who has no knowledge of shrimping is on a boat, and he sort of walks you through how the boat works and operates and what it's like to be out there in the ocean. And then there's another one that a shrimper shot himself, and it's just him with a really great soundtrack showing you what he's doing on his boat. They're available online, and if we want to share contact information, I can make sure that I get you those links. Yes, ma'am.
Also downstairs in the temporary exhibit, we have a video about how a shrimping boat works.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I really want to have an experience like this, so I would like to see.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. It's been a treat to be here today, and again, in 4 more months, I bet I got 800 more slides to do.